What is up, everybody? This is Josh back again with another video on Tech and Ish. Now, today what I'm going to talk about is The Ranch, and it's currently on its last season. After this one, it's basically done. It didn't get canceled. They're basically just ending it. So what I want to talk to you is part 7. So Netflix kind of has it in parts. They have it all the way from 1 through 7. So basically, the way you can actually figure out if you're on season 1 or season 2, it's every 2 parts you get 1 season. So part 1 and part 2 is 1, and then 3, 4 is 2, and then it just goes so on. So part 7 was just released. I finished that one already. I actually liked it. It was pretty good. It kind of started off like, you know, people are having fun, people are laughing and joking, and then it just kind of got depressing after a while. It kind of got like the way part 6 ended, on how it kind of was a little bit more funny, but then Abby ends up leaving him for Colt lying. So it kind of like picks up from there, and you basically start seeing a couple of things. This is only going to be the first half of part 7. The second half won't be released until next year, and then by then the ranch is just completely over, and it does end off with a cliffhanger. So I am going to drop some spoilers here, so if you don't want me to ruin it for you, you might want to stop this video and go watch it for yourself, because it's actually pretty good. I won't go into detail on every single episode. I'll kind of just drop off some big hints or big moments that happen in this series. So it was actually pretty good. So to start off with, it does pick up right where part 6 ended off. Abby left Colt because Colt was lying to Abby. He basically was trying to make it seem like everything was fine, but in reality it wasn't. Things just weren't going good for Colt. His cousin left him, which was Luke. He basically took all the money that he had, and then he basically left him for Rooster's old girl, which was Mary. Now, you kind of see Mary kind of like falling off the wagon here, because she's starting to do drugs. Now, she's basically just lying to herself, because she's like, well, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just having a good time. She ends up going off to Las Vegas, and she ends up marrying Luke. And from there, she ends up having an overdose. She ends up going back to her hometown, and in her hometown, you know, her daughter is there, and her daughter's basically just trying to lecture her, saying that she's basically handling what happened to Rooster in the wrong way. She's basically just going over to drugs, becoming a drug addict, and things just start falling for her, you know, right there and then. You'll end up seeing, as you keep on going, a lot of stuff just starts happening to her, and you kind of see basically how drugs ends up fucking her up. So you got to watch on what actually happens to Mary. Abby is still basically not being with Colt. They're still separated, and you see them going back and forth. They kind of have a little moment where they do kiss each other, and they make it seem like they're getting back together, but she's basically like, I can't trust you, I can't be with you. And Colt is basically like, well, if you basically can't be with me, then we might as well just get a divorce. So it ends up going from there, and it doesn't say if they actually ended up getting a divorce, but they kind of go through the whole process, and then maybe they might get one. I don't know. We'll see what happens on the next part. So now there is some funny parts here. You know how you always see Bo and his attitude on how he actually talks to Colt. There's some funny parts there between Colt, Bo, and Luke. You got to see it for yourself. You'll probably be laughing at a lot of jokes that's being said. Bo is still with Joanne, but Joanne kind of doesn't want to be with Bo anymore, because she ends up finding out that she's in an early stage of Alzheimer's. She doesn't want to put that burden on Bo, making sure that, you know, he's taking care of her, just because she's going to end up losing her mind as time goes by. But Bo just doesn't want to let that relationship go. He still wants to be with her, and he ends up proposing to her. That proposal doesn't really go that well. She denies his offer because of the whole Alzheimer's thing. But she finally sees that Bo is not going to go anywhere. So they end up getting married. So like I said, this is just going to be a quick review on certain things about it that, you know, kind of caught my attention, that I thought was funny. Certain things that maybe might reel you in and actually watching the show. It's only 30 minutes long, like per episode. So, and there's only 10 episodes per season. So in 5 hours, you'll finish the whole season. You'll finish one whole part. And then you just keep on going from there. I finished part 7 in one day. And it only took me 5 hours to finish the whole thing. But it is good though. You might want to check it out. There's not really any like moments that'll make you laugh so hard that your stomach hurts. There's just some moments that you'll start laughing a little bit. There is some sad moments. One of those things is you end up seeing Mary. As I said, she's going through a whole drug thing. She's playing people. She basically ends up having money that was stored in the bank from her daughter. Her daughter Heather got that money from Luke. Luke is trying to give them some money, that way they can pay for the rent. And Mary just really doesn't care what that money is for. She ends up taking it all, and she ends up spending the whole thing on drugs. She ends up hitting a low point in her life, and she ends up doing heroin. And her boyfriend or her ex-husband, I can't remember which one it was, but her ex-husband or boyfriend comes back in the picture. Nick, I'm sure you remember him from the past seasons. He ended up threatening Rooster, saying that if you don't leave Mary alone, that I'm going to kill you. And they're kind of blaming Nick for Rooster's death, because Rooster basically kind of like drove off, and I guess he fell off a bridge when it was raining pretty bad. And it's basically saying that he died. In reality, they wrote him off because of this whole Me Too stuff that happened to him. So he's basically off the show, and Nick just comes back in the picture. And that's actually going to go bad for him, because Bo told him to not come back to the city, because if you do, it's going to go bad for you. But he's basically back with Mary, and he's basically just providing drugs to her. As I said, Mary hit a final low when she ended up doing heroin. She goes to Luke asking for help. Luke ends up taking her to a rehab center, or trying to take her to a rehab center, but that doesn't work out for him. He ends up leaving her in his truck, goes inside, tries to get her some ginger ale because she feels like throwing up because of the withdrawals, and she ends up jacking his ride. And he's basically like to the point where, you know what, I don't want to help you no more. I'm done with you. Just give me back my truck. Obviously the truck is gone because she sold it for heroin. So she's basically just like big time low on this point. Now, as you know, Colt, his house burned down, the house that he had his farm in that he ended up getting. So his house burned down. His kettles are basically not being sold because Lisa is basically just taking everything. She ends up building a dam that actually stops all the water supply from Colt's farmhouse to other people who actually need that water supply so their kettle can actually survive. Colt is just pissed off that Lisa is actually doing this to him. So what he ends up doing is he goes to that dam and just blows it up. And then from there, Lisa ends up telling him that I got surveillance cameras out here, and I got you blowing up that dam. Now, you have two options. Options are you're going to either sell me your ranch or you're going to jail for this. Now, Colt was actually thinking about doing it until a lot of people in the town were basically just telling him, thank you for doing this, because if this did not happen, then I don't know how I was going to be able to provide for my family. So a lot of people were actually calling him a hero. And as I said, Lisa does find out who did it because of the cameras. That threat does not go so well. Colt says, if you want my farm, the only way you can have it is if you keep that dam down, because that dam is the only way that all these other farmers can actually make a living. Now, Lisa's telling him there's no negotiation on this. You either take it or leave it. Of course, Colt just walks away, says, I'm not going to do it. She puts his ass in jail. Now, Bo, since, that's his son. Now, it may be his son, but he doesn't show any affection towards him. But, this part he actually does, because Bo ends up going to Lisa's office telling him, can you drop the charges on my son? And if you do so, I will sell you my ranch. And that's basically what happened. Cole ends up finding out that his dad sold his ranch that's been in the family for hundreds of years. And Lisa ends up dropping all the charges. Now, Cole and his father kind of get a little bit into it because of that situation. But Cole finally realized that it's not where the ranch is being held. It's the legacy of what that family represents. So I'm thinking maybe in part 8, Colt is going to try to have, that ranch end up being his ranch. That way he can actually build his own legacy for his kids. So while all this is happening, Mary, as I said, she's getting drugs. So she ends up going to a pharmacy. She tries to get drugs. Obviously, that's not working there. So she asks Abby, who she bumps into at the pharmacy, if she can get her drugs. Now, Abby is not going to do anything. She's trying to talk to her to help her. And then Nick comes out of nowhere saying, let's go, we're leaving. We'll go to a different pharmacy. Abby ends up telling Colt and Bo that Nick is back in town, and it does not go well for them. They end up getting pissed. Well, at least Bo. Bo shows that he gets pissed. He gets his gun out, and he basically starts walking out of the farm. Now, Colt, he's basically saying, I don't care that he's back. I'm going to go upstairs, go look at my daughter, make sure that she's okay. And it's basically tricking her. He basically sneaks out the back, gets inside his car, and he ends up leaving. Now, Abby tries to stop him, but the only way that Colt will stay there is if she says that we can get back together. Now, obviously, those words do not come out of her mouth because he ends up rolling out. As he's rolling out, it ends up going to kind of like a cutscene, and you end up seeing Nick going into his house, at his trailer park house. He goes in there, and then you hear the words, "What are you doing here?" Right when you hear that, you hear gunshots. Now, I'm pretty sure Nick is dead, and it basically just ends like that. So it's kind of like on a cliffhanger. You don't know who shot him. Now, my thoughts, the person who shot Nick was either Mary or Heather. Mary, of course, because she's on drugs, and Heather because she's mad at the fact of what she did to her mom. Now, I don't know if that's what actually happened. I'm waiting until part 8 comes out. I'll definitely let you know my review on that, and hopefully we get some of these answers. So that's kind of it for part 7 of The Ranch. You got to go watch it. It is something to watch. It's only 30 minutes long per episode, maybe 25 minutes or so. So you basically are not wasting that much time. You got to go watch this show. It's pretty funny. You'll get some laughs out of it, and you'll get some, man, that's messed up moments out of it as well. So keep in tune to my channel. I'll definitely keep you up to date on these TV shows that are coming up. Like, subscribe, comment, let me know how I'm doing. Until next time, peace.